Chapter 1. James' Arrival. The clang of the heavy steel door echoed ominously in James Jimmy Thompson's ears as he stepped into the stark confines of the high-security prison. Confusion washed over him, a tidal wave of emotions crashing against the shore of his resolve. He had dedicated his life to teaching, yet now, unjustly convicted, he found himself surrounded by hardened criminals, their faces etched with stories of despair. As he navigated the unforgiving corridors, whispers of fear and uncertainty filled the air. Jimmy's heart raced, his thoughts swirling with questions. How would he survive this hostile environment? Would he ever clear his name? Yet amid the chaos, a flicker of determination emerged. He resolved to harness his passion for teaching, vowing to uplift others, even from behind bars. In this moment, he silently promised himself he would not be defined by his circumstances. He would find purpose amid the darkness. Chapter 2. Maria's Struggles. Maria Gonzalez's journey began long before she entered the high-security prison gates. A single mother of two, she recounts the devastating spiral into addiction that separated her from her children. With raw vulnerability, Maria reflects on the heart-wrenching moments when she chose substances over motherhood, haunted by the laughter of her kids echoing in her mind. The ambient sounds of prison life form a stark contrast to her memories, steel doors clanging instead of playful giggles. In her diary, Maria writes of sleepless nights filled with guilt and longing. She dreams of a reunion, imagining holding her children in her arms, whispering promises of change. As she pens her struggles, she clings to the hope that her past doesn't define her future. In the community garden project, she finds a flicker of purpose, nurturing plants that blossom like her dreams of redemption, vowing to cultivate a new life for herself and her family. Chapter 3. Eli's Awakening. Eli, the poet Carter, remembers stepping into the prison yard for the first time, an overwhelming wave of emotions crashing over him. The sun bore down mercilessly, yet he found himself seeking solace in the expansive blue sky above the towering walls. This stark contrast of freedom and confinement sparked something within him, a desire to express the turmoil in his heart. That evening, surrounded by the cold, unforgiving concrete, Eli grabbed a worn notebook and began to write. His first poem, an exploration of regret and resilience, flowed from his pen like a river of healing. As he recited his words aloud, fellow inmates gathered, drawn in by the raw honesty of his voice. In that moment, Eli realized his gift. Poetry could unite them, transforming pain into art. Through his words, he began to reclaim his identity, illuminating the shadows of despair that cloaked life behind bars. Chapter 4. Coach's Legacy. In the hushed confines of the prison gym, Marcus Coach Lewis reflects on his life before incarceration. Once a star athlete with dreams of the Olympics, he fell into the wrong crowd, leading to his conviction. His deep voice carries the weight of his regrets, but it is also filled with determination. Every setback is a setup for a comeback, he often tells the younger inmates, who gather around him, eyes wide with anticipation. As he shares his story, a transformation unfolds. Marcus describes the thrill of competition, the camaraderie of teammates, and the lessons learned on the field. Teamwork, resilience, and integrity. With every practice session, he fosters brotherhood among the inmates through basketball, emphasizing how sports can offer a lifeline and a path to personal growth. For Marcus, mentoring these young men is more than a role. It's his chance at redemption, turning the mistakes of his past into lessons for their futures. Chapter 5. Daily Routines. As dawn breaks in the high-security prison, the echoes of metal doors creaking open fill the air. The day begins with a symphony of footsteps shuffling down stark concrete halls, accompanied by distant calls of guards giving orders. Morning routines are a blur of monotonous tasks, counting inmates, breakfast trays clattering, and the sounds of shuffling paper during classroom hours. Despite the mundane backdrop, each inmate finds a thread of normalcy in their daily lives. Jimmy shares how teaching other inmates becomes a refuge for him, a way to reclaim his identity as an educator. Maria takes solace in the predictability, relying on it to cope with her longing for her children. Eli captures these moments in his poetry, using the rhythms of prison life to inspire verses of hope. This chapter reveals the transformative power of routine, offering a glimmer of stability and connection amidst the chaos of incarceration. Chapter 6. Seeds of Change. In the dim light of the prison yard, Maria stands among her fellow inmates, all gathered around the community garden project. The soil, once dry and barren, is now being transformed into a vibrant space of hope. As she kneels to plant seeds, Maria reflects on her past, the addiction that pulled her away from her children and the dreams she once had. Each seed she sows symbolizes a promise to herself, her children, and a future she is determined to reclaim. With every handful of earth, Maria feels the weight of her regrets slowly lift. She shares stories with other women in the garden, each woman's tale intertwined with longing, guilt, and hope. Together, they nurture the plants, cultivating not only flowers and vegetables, but also a sense of community. As Maria waters the newly planted seeds, she envisions the day she will return to her children, ready to offer them the love and stability they deserve. Chapter 7: The Healing Power of Words. In the quiet of the prison's rec room, Eli stands before a small gathering of inmates and guards, his heart pounding in rhythm with the echoing walls. He takes a deep breath and begins to recite his latest spoken-word poem, a reflection on regret, resilience, and the search for redemption. Each word flows like a river, carrying with it the weight of his experiences, lost opportunities, dreams deferred, but also flickers of hope. The audience is captivated. Some nod in understanding, others wipe away tears. Eli's voice rises, weaving vivid imagery that resonates deeply within the hearts of his listeners. The power of his words transforms the stark room, turning it into a sanctuary of shared emotions and unspoken connections. As he finishes, the applause is thunderous, not just for the performance, but for the shared bond forged in that fleeting moment of vulnerability. Eli knows that through poetry, he brings light into even the darkest corners of their lives. Chapter 8: Lessons from the Court. As the rhythmic sound of sneakers squeaking against the polished gym floor fills the air, Coach Lewis stands at the sidelines, a whistle around his neck and determination in his eyes. He recalls a pivotal game from his youth, a moment when the pressure mounted and everything seemed lost. With passion, he shares this memory with the younger inmates during practice, emphasizing the importance of resilience. In that game, when we were down by 10 points, instead of giving up, we banded together. We communicated and trusted one another. That's how we won. The inmates nod in understanding, the lesson resonating deeply. Coach's experience transcends the court. It becomes a metaphor for their lives behind bars. He reminds them that every setback is an opportunity for growth, encouraging them to apply these lessons of teamwork and perseverance not just in basketball, but in their daily struggles within the prison walls. Chapter 9: Confronting the Past. As Jimmy sits in his dimly lit cell, he runs his fingers over the letters he's meticulously drafted for his attorney. Each word is imbued with a desperate hope for vindication. He recalls the day of his arrest, the chaos and confusion, and the weight of false accusations bearing down on him. The ambient sounds of the prison, clanking metal and muffled conversations, serve as a haunting reminder of a life interrupted. Determined, he reflects on his journey, replaying courtroom scenes in his mind. He recalls the judge's somber face, the jury's gaze, and the moment he realized that being innocent isn't enough. With each diary entry, he chronicles his legal battles, weaving in moments of despair yet resolutely pushing forward. In the quiet of the night, Jimmy finds solace in the belief that truth has a way of emerging, igniting a flicker of optimism in his heart amidst the shadows of his past. Chapter 10: Rivalries and Resolutions. As the day of Coach's basketball tournament approaches, tension simmers among the inmates. Old rivalries resurface, with cliques forming and whispers of past grievances echoing through the prison yard. Coach Lewis steps into the chaos, determined to teach a vital lesson: unity through sport. In his firm yet understanding manner, he gathers the teams for a meeting, emphasizing that this tournament isn't just about winning. It's about camaraderie and respect. Basketball's a mirror of life, he says, his voice steady amidst the unrest. We rise or fall together. The inmates, initially skeptical, begin to nod, recognizing the profound truth in his words. As they train together, their shared laughter and competitive spirit slowly dissolve the walls of animosity. By the time the tournament begins, rivalries transform into respect, and the court becomes a sanctuary where hope is cultivated, illustrating the power of teamwork in overcoming past conflicts. Chapter 11. The Tournament Day. The prison gym buzzed with anticipation as inmates and guards gathered for Coach's basketball tournament. The clang of sneakers on the polished floor echoed, mixing with shouts of enthusiasm and the rhythmic pulse of a heartwarming playlist. Each team donned makeshift uniforms, a symbol of their aspirations and bonds forged through shared experiences. Jimmy, Maria, and Eli took their spots, each driven by a desire not just to win, but to uplift their peers. Coach rallied them, emphasizing the importance of teamwork, resilience, and respect on and off the court. As the first whistle blew, adrenaline surged, fueling the adrenaline-fueled plays and unexpected rivalries. Tensions flared, but with Coach's guidance, anger evolved into understanding. In that moment, fractured lives found connection through sport. Laughter and joy echoed, encapsulating a spirit of hope that transcended prison walls. The tournament became a microcosm of their struggles. Each basket scored a step closer to redemption. Chapter 12. Crisis at Midnight. As the clock struck midnight, an alarm blared through the prison corridors, sending waves of panic among the inmates. A fight had broken out in a nearby block, leading to a sudden lockdown. The clanging metal doors echoed ominously, sealing them in their cells and amplifying the dread that hung in the air. In the dim light of the common area, Jimmy, Maria, Eli, and Coach huddled together, their hearts racing. Fear gripped them, but amid the chaos, they leaned on one another for support. Eli, in his calm demeanor, began reciting a poem about resilience, his words piercing through the darkness. Maria shared her fears of not making it back to her children, while Jimmy expressed his fight for justice. In this moment of vulnerability, the bonds they had forged shone brightly. They promised one another a future beyond these walls, a future filled with hope, understanding, and healing. Chapter 13. Reflections and Redemption. As the turmoil of the lockdown begins to fade, the inmates gather in the dimly lit common area, a newfound solidarity palpable among them. Jimmy, heart-pounding, reflects on the weight of being wrongfully incarcerated. In this darkness, he shares, I found a purpose larger than myself. Teaching has become my liberation. Maria, wiping tears from her eyes, speaks of hope. Even behind these walls, I dream of my children. Each day, I nurture not just a garden, but the belief that a fresh start awaits. Eli, inspired by the collective struggle, reveals a new poem, weaving their stories into verses of resilience. Every scar tells a story, he recites, and ours are chapters of redemption. Coach nods, embodying the spirit of mentorship, emphasizing that every setback can be a setup for a comeback. Together, they acknowledge their journeys, a tapestry of pain, growth, and the undeniable strength of the human spirit, binding them as one.